time in Umuogu village, 3 black cats wouldn't stop digging at the grave of Mama Peace, the pastor's wife everyone thought was a saint. A young choir leader, Adaora, followed the trail to a ribbon marked 256, a number tied to dark memories of her time at the daughter's restoration home, a place Mama Peace ran for restoring wayward girls. But the cats weren't just disturbing the grave, they were leading Adaora and the cemetery keeper Ifeanyi to something buried deeper. Under a loose slab behind the home, they found old phones, ID cards, and a ledger filled with coded entries, initials, payments, and hymn numbers, and a map to a hidden room beneath the church stage. That was when a motorcycle pulled into the compound at 3 in the morning, and someone walked towards that locked hall. Adaora gripped the ledger. Her heart was pounding. Who opened this place at 3 a.m.? And what are they hiding beneath the floor? The assembly hall door creaked open, letting a silver of 1 light spill across the courtyard. Before closing again, Adaora and Ifeanyi stayed crouched low behind the water tank, barely breathing. For a few moments, there was only silence. Then came the slow, heavy sound of wood scraping against wood. A trap door being dragged open. Footsteps followed, then a voice. The voice was calm. I told you to stop making noise. Do you want to end up like Mama Peace? Adora's stomach turned. She knew that voice. She had heard it pray over orphans and widows. She had heard it organize food drives and speak comfort at funerals. She looked over the rim of the water tank just as the figure stepped into the light. It was Mrs. Okeke, the church's beloved welfare leader. Ifeanyi's eyes widened. In all the years he's tended the cemetery, he had never seen her here at night. And now, she was standing over the open trapdoor like she had every right to be there. The weak voice said something they couldn't make out from outside the building. No one is coming for you, Mrs. Okeke replied sharply. Your mother thinks you are in Lagos, remember? Everyone thinks you are in Lagos, and that's where you stay until you learn to cooperate properly. More sounds, footsteps on wooden stairs, the trapdoor closing again. Then Mrs. Okeke emerged from the building and walked back towards the motorcycle. Is everything secured? Deacon Jonah asked. For now, but we may need to make some changes soon. That cemetery keeper has been asking too many questions, and the choir girl is getting suspicious. Adora's heart nearly stopped. They were talking about her and Ifeanyi. You want me to handle them? Deacon Jonah asked in a voice that made Adora's skin crawl. Not yet. Let me try the gentle approach first. But be ready. The motorcycle started up and they drove away into the night. Adaora and Ifeanyi waited in silence for several minutes, making sure they were really gone. Sister, Ifeanyi whispered finally, I think we are in great danger. Maybe we should just go home and think about this more carefully. But Adaora was already moving towards the assembly hall. No, uncle, we have to get her out of there tonight. Didn't you see? Mrs. Okeke knows we are getting close to the truth. If we wait, they might move Ngozi somewhere we'll never find her. The door to the assembly hall was locked, but one of the boarded up window had loose planks. Together, they managed to pry enough boards away to squeeze through it. Inside, the building smelled of dust and old wood. Their small flashlight revealed rows of wooden benches, a simple pulpit, and at the front, a raised platform that served as a stage for programs and play. Following the notebook's crude map, they approached the stage and began examining the floorboard. Near the center, they found what they were looking for, a section of floor that was clearly a trapdoor, though it had been disguised to look like regular planking. It took both of them to lift the heavy wooden panel. Underneath was a ladder leading down into darkness. Hello, Adaora called softly into the opening. Is someone down there? A rustling sound, then a weak voice. Who is there? Adora's heart leaped. Ngozi, is that you? A sob from below. Adaora, is that really you? Yes, it's me. I'm coming down. The hidden room was small and cramped, with barely enough headroom to stand. A battery-powered lantern provided dim light, and there, huddled on a tin mattress, was Unazi. But this wasn't the vibrant 17-year-old girl Adaora remembered. This Unazi was thin and hollow-eyed, her hair matted and her clothes dirty. In her arms, she held a small bundle, a baby that looked to be only a few weeks old. Unazi, Adaora whispered, kneeling beside her friend. Oh my God, what have they done to you? They said my baby died during birth, Unazi said through her tears. But then Sister Blessing brought him back to me secretly. She said Mrs. Okeke was planning to sell him to a family in Abuja, but something went wrong with the paperwork, so they kept me here until they could find another buyer. Adaora looked around the cramped space and her blood boiled. Carved into the wooden walls were hymn number 256, 134, 89 and 412. Each one scratched desperately by fingernails, like a prisoner making time. The hymn numbers, she said, what do they mean? Different punishments, Unazi whispered. 256 was the worst. Isolation and no food. For 2 days, if you cry too much, or ask about your baby, or try to contact your family. 256. Ifeanyi's voice came from above. Sister, we must hurry. Someone could come back. But as Adaora helped Unazi to her feet, they heard the sound that made their hearts stop. A motorcycle approaching again. They are back, Ifeanyi whispered urgently. Hurry! Adaora looked at Unazi, who was weak from months of captivity, holding a newborn baby. There was no way they could all climb out and escape before Mrs. Okeke reached the building. Uncle, she called softly, close the trap door and hide. When they come outside, you run and get help. Go to Pastor Emmanuel's house, wake him up and bring him here with witnesses. What about you? We'll hide down here until you come back with help. But it was too late. As Ifeanyi lowered the trap door, they could hear Mrs. Okeke's voice outside the building. I know someone is here, she was saying. The board on that window weren't loose this morning. The door to the assembly hall opened. An electric light flickered on. Footsteps walked directly towards the stage. Deacon Jonah, Mrs. Okeke's voice was calm but deadly. Bring the lantern. We have visitors. The trapdoor opened above them, and Mrs. Okeke's face appeared in the opening, no longer wearing her warm motherly smile. Her eyes were cold as river stone. Well, little Adaora, the curious choir leader, I wondered when you would become a problem. Deacon Jonah's bulky frame appeared beside her, holding a bright electric lantern that made the small underground room feel even more like a prison. Come up, both of you, now. Adaora helped Unazi climb the ladder first, the baby crying weakly in her arms. When they were all standing on the stage, Mrs. Okeke walked around them slowly, like a predator circling a prey. 20 years, she said conversationally. 20 years, I've been cleaning up the messes that threatened this particular church. Unwanted pregnancy, family scandals, reputations that needed protecting. Do you have any idea how much good we've done? How many families we've saved from shame? By stealing babies, Adaora said, surprised by the strength in her voice. Mrs. Okeke's laugh was soft and terrible. Stealing? Child, we provided a service. These girls came to us with nothing. No husband, no money, no prospect. We gave their babies to families who could provide everything. Good Christian home with money for education, health care, opportunities. Everyone benefited. Everyone except the girls, Adaora said, and the babies who were sold like livestock. You think sentiment is more important than practical solutions? Mrs. Okeke's voice hardened. You think it's better for children to grow up in poverty with teenage mothers who can't care for them properly? Unazi spoke up quickly, clutching her baby closer. You told my mother I was in Lagos. She cries for me every day at the market. You let her think her daughter abandoned her. Your mother has peace now. She believes you are living a better life. Isn't that kinder than watching you struggle to raise a child you can't afford? Adaora stared at this woman she had trusted, who had sat in church every Sunday, teaching Sunday school children about God's love. What about Mama Peace? Did she know what you were really doing? Mrs. Okeke's expression grew complicated. Mama Peace started the program with good intentions, but she was weak, sentimental. Towards the end, she wanted to stop. She said the money wasn't worth the cost. She even threatened to confess everything to Pastor Emmanuel. A chill ran down Adaora's spine. That was why she died, isn't it? She died because she was going to destroy everything we built together. The orphanage we funded, the widows program, the church school, all of it depended on maintaining our arrangements with families who needed children. One woman's crisis of conscience would have ruined countless lives. You killed her? I made a very difficult decision for the greater good. A little something in her medicine to ensure she died peacefully in her sleep before she could cause irreparable damage. Deacon Jonah shifted uncomfortably. Sister Mary, maybe we shouldn't. Be quiet, Mrs. Okeke snapped. These girls won't be telling anyone anything. But as she spoke, they heard voices outside the building. Multiple voices getting closer. Mrs. Okeke's eyes narrowed. Where is the cemetery keeper? Adaora's heart leaped with hope. Ifeanyi had escaped and brought help. The voices became clearer. Pastor Emmanuel's gentle voice, raised in distress, Elder Emeka's deeper tones, and a woman's voice that Adaora recognized as policewoman Janet, who attended their church. In here, Adaora shouted as loudly as she could. We are in here. Mrs. Okeke moved quickly towards Deacon Jonah, but he was backing away from her, his face pale. Sister Mary, I thought you were just... I didn't know about murder. I can't be part of this. The door to the assembly hall burst open, and Pastor Emmanuel rushed in, followed by Ifeanyi, Elder Emeka, and policewoman Janet. Behind them came several other church members, including Ngozi's mother, who screamed when she saw her daughter. Ngozi, my child, you are alive? Mrs. Okeke straightened her shoulders and put on her warm smile one last time. Pastor, thank God you are here. I found these girls trespassing in the building. I was just trying to understand. Sister Mary, Pastor Emmanuel said quietly, and Adaora had never heard such sadness in his voice. Ifeanyi told us everything about the notebook, about what you said outside, about my wife. Mrs. Okeke's smile faltered. Policewoman Janet stepped forward, her hand on her weapon. Ma'am, you need to come with me for questioning. This is ridiculous, Mrs. Okeke said, but her voice had lost its confidence. You are going to believe the word of few confused girls over mine? I've served this church faithfully for 20 years. Yes, Pastor Emmanuel said, tears streaming down his face. You have. That's what makes this so much worse. As policewoman Janet placed handcuffs on Mrs. Okeke's wrist, the woman who had seemed so motherly and wise looked suddenly small and ordinary. You don't understand the good we did, she said desperately. The problems we solved, the shame we prevented. Without us, these families would have been destroyed. Without you, said Ngozi's mother, holding her daughter and grandchild close, families wouldn't have been separated in the first place. The next few hours passed in a blur of police statements, medical examination, and tearful reunion. Unazi was taken to the mission hospital, weak from months of pump nutrition, but alive. Her baby, whom she had named Emmanuel after the pastor, was healthy despite the circumstances of his birth. Sister Blessing, the nurse, was arrested at her home just before dawn. The notebook hidden under the DRH wall contained enough evidence to support charges of human trafficking, fraud, and accessory to murder. But it was the discovery they made later that morning that shook the town to its core. Behind the first well in Mrs. Okeke's house, police found detailed records going back 15 years, list of babies sold, families who had paid for children, girls who had been processed through the daughter's restoration home. The scope of the operation was staggering. More than 200 babies had been taken from their mothers and sold to wealthy families across Nigeria. The money had indeed funded legitimate church programs, as Mrs. Okeke had claimed, but it had also made her personally wealthy. In a locked cabinet, they found Mama Peace's real medical record. She hadn't died of natural illness. She has been slowly poisoned over several weeks with a drug that mimicked heart failure. Mrs. Okeke had been visiting her every day, bringing medicine that was supposed to help, but was actually killing her. Pastor Emmanuel sat in his office that afternoon, surrounded by the wreckage of everything he had believed about his wife ministry. Elder Emeka and several other church leaders had come to discuss what to do next. How many others knew? Pastor Emmanuel asked quietly. From what we can tell, Elder Emeka replied, just Mrs. Okeke, Sister Blessing, and Deacon Jonah. Everyone else genuinely believed the girls were being helped and the babies were going to good homes. But I should have known. I should have asked more questions, insisted on visiting the families, checked the records more carefully. I was so concerned with avoiding scandal that I left this evil flourish under my nose. Adaora knocked softly on the door. She had spent the morning at the police station giving her statement, but she needed to see the pastor before the news spread completely through the town. Pastor, may I speak with you? He looked up with red-rimmed eyes. Sister Adaora, I owe you an apology, and so much more than an apology. Pastor, I need to tell you something about my own time at DRH, about what happened to my baby. She told him the full story, her pregnancy, the 2 months of restoration, waking up to find her baby gone, the years of silence and grief. By the time she finished, Pastor Emmanuel was weeping openly. My child, I'm so sorry I failed you. I failed all of you. Pastor, you didn't know. Mrs. Okeke deceived everyone. But that's not an excuse. A shepherd should know his sheep. I should have visited the home more often, talked to the girls directly, insisted on transparency. I was lazy and cowardly, and girls like you paid the price. Elder Emeka spoke up. Pastor, the question now is, what do we do going forward? The church reputation is destroyed. Half of our funding came from the DRH program. People are already talking about leaving. Pastor Emmanuel was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the cemetery where his wife lay buried. Let them leave if they want to. We'll rebuild with whoever stays, and we'll do it honestly this time. No more programs that can't bear scrutiny. No more protecting the church's image at the expense of truth. He turned back to face them. I will spend whatever it takes to help the victims. Counseling for the girls, help find the babies who were sold, support for the families. Even if we have to sell this building and meet under trees, we will make this right. Adaora felt something loosen in her chest, a knot of pain and anger she had carried for 2 years. Pastor, what about the families who bought the babies? What happened to them? That's for the court to decide. But I pray that those children are truly loved and cared for wherever they are. We can't undo what was done, but we can try to ensure no more harm comes from it. As evening approached, Adaora walked to the cemetery to visit Mama Peace's grave. The cats hadn't returned since the night they led her and Ifeanyi to the hidden evidence. The grave looked peaceful now, no longer disturbed by desperate claws seeking truth. Ifeanyi was there, smoothing fresh soil and planting small flowers around the headstone. Uncle, do you think she's at peace now? Adaora asked. Ifeanyi considered the question carefully. I think she was trying to be at peace at the end. Uncle, do you think the cats will come back? Ifeanyi smiled slightly. I don't think so. They did their job. The truth is out now. It doesn't need to be dug up from the ground anymore. 3 weeks later, the story has spread far beyond Umuogu village. Journalists come from Lagos and Abuja to interview the survivors. Social workers arrived to assess the situation and provide counseling services. Ngozi's mother reopened her fish stall at the river market, but now she walked with joy instead of grief. Her daughter and grandson lived with her. While Ngozi recovered her strength, the baby was thriving, and Ngozi was slowly learning to smile again. It was Adaora's journey that perhaps showed both the cost and the possibility of healing. With the help of the notebook record and Sister Blessing's testimony, she learned what had already happened to her baby, a healthy boy. He had been sold to a family in Kano for 400,000 naira. The couple, who ran a small business and had been unable to have children of their own, believed they were participating in a legal adoption. When social workers contacted them, they were devastated to learn the truth, but they agreed to meet with Adaora to discuss the situation. What they worked out with the help of the counselors was not what anyone had expected, but what seemed best for the child. Adaora would have regular visits, and as he grew older, he would learn about his origins, The Abdullahis would maintain custody but will always acknowledge Adaora as his birth mother. When he was old enough to understand, he could choose how much relationship he wanted with each family. A social service office in Abuja with counselors present to help navigate the emotional complexity. Adaora's son was now 2 years old, walking and beginning to talk. He looked like her father, with the same intelligent eyes and stubborn chin. The couple who had raised him, Mr. and Mrs. Abdullahi, were kind people who had given him everything they could. We love him as if he's our own blood, Mrs. Abdullahi said through tears. But we know he belongs to you. Adaora held her son for the first time since his birth, feeling the weight of 2 years of grief and longing. But she also saw how he clung to the woman who had been his mother for his entire conscious life. He doesn't know me, she said quietly. To him, you are his parents. It wasn't the happy ending that movies promised, but it was honest and it was healing. Some sins travel slowly, some run ahead to meet their owners. Everything hidden will be seen. If God must use animals to speak when we ignore the weak, He will. Let those who carry titles carry truth too. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to share this story with your family and your friends who might love to see them. Till I see you again in my next story. Goodbye.